Thank you, Amanda, and welcome everyone. I'm glad that you're here. Hopefully, you've had a chance to download the 2022 State of DevOps report. If not, you can grab it right there at that URL that's shown, bit.ly/DORA-SODER, State of DevOps report. And we are going to have, as Amanda said, a lean coffee discussion. We're going to record this part where I'm going to set some context for us. I think one of the most important pieces, and frankly, often overlooked and maybe even misunderstood pieces of the DORA research program is the structural equation model that we publish each year. Now, this structural equation model, or the SEM, has a number of different names. Sometimes we recognize it as an eye chart, and it's just a test of how well how good your vision is holding up. Sometimes we call this the BFD, which stands for Big Friendly Diagram. Of course, it's a very friendly diagram. But the important thing is not, kind of like DevOps, the important thing is not what it's called, but what you can use it for. So I want to take a few minutes just to have a look at the structural equation model here and describe the best ways to use it. And so if you'd like to follow along and have a view that's not quite so eye-charty, you can go over to this URL, which is what I'm going to open up right now as well. And you'll find the structural equation model here. And we start with a description of what the structural equation model is, and we use a lot of statistical terms. And frankly, I'm not a statistician. I believe the statistics, and I am not going to read this paragraph to you. I want to jump right into the diagram itself. Now, even this view is a little bit eye-charty, so I'm just going to open this image in a new tab, and then I'm going to switch to sharing that tab. And now it's even worse. So how did that help? Well, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Okay, so taking a look here at the structural equation model, I think that let's back up for 1 second. The DORA research program is all about how do we improve our software delivery and operations. Now, software delivery and operations, let's be very clear about that, is only part of the entire life cycle of how we use technology to drive our business forward. So we are focused on a very sort of narrow slice of that overall value chain, of that overall life cycle. But when it comes to software delivery and operations, it doesn't matter really how your team is performing today. The truth is, you probably feel like and know that your team could do better. Well, what could they do better at? This is always a big question. And the best way to use the structural equation model, or the BFD, is to think about what are your goals? What are the outcomes that you're trying to push for? And in fact, if you look at the right-hand side of the structural equation model, which gets updated every year, you'll see the key outcomes that each year's research is measuring. So in the 2022 research, as an example, we measured or looked at outcomes around organizational performance, software delivery performance, and software operational performance. We measure those almost every year of the research study. But we also looked at a couple of other key outcomes this year: team satisfaction, error proneness, and burnout. Well, the way that you use the structural equation model is you want to come up with a goal for your team. We want to improve our overall organizational performance, or we want to reduce burnout on the team. Once you've come up with that, you can then use the model to help understand which capabilities predict or drive or support or even work against a particular outcome. So you can start on the right-hand side, what outcome are we looking for? And then look backwards across these lines to figure out which capabilities might my team want to invest in. So as a concrete example, let's say that your team you recognize that your team is suffering from a good bit of burnout. Well, how can you decrease burnout on your team? We can follow these arrows backwards and see that Westrum's organizational culture decreases burnout. Those of you that are familiar with Westrum, of course, what we mean is Westrum's generative culture is what decreases burnout. Stay away from those pathological and organizational culture types. But we can also see that Westrum as a culture, so a generative culture, actually increases some of our security practices. What are other things that decrease burnout? Well, following this arrow backwards, we can see that some of those security practices actually help decrease burnout. Employee flexibility also helps decrease burnout. So we can start to see, how do we get to decrease burnout? We can improve our culture, we can improve our flexibility, we can include or improve some of our security practices. Oh, by the way, our security practices are increased or supported by some of these technical capabilities, which themselves are supported by other things. So we can almost make a big leap here. I'm going to write a little sentence out in English. If we improve our documentation quality, we can expect to maintain or retain one additional employee this year because they won't leave because of burnout. So maybe that's a big leap. Getting better at docs means our team size is going to stay the same. We'll lose one fewer people to attrition because of burnout. Maybe that's a big leap, but what we can show through the data and the analysis here, the predictions, is that that may actually work. Now, I should remind everyone that these are predictions. So this is not a roadmap. This is not a guarantee of what's going to happen, but it is a way for you to think critically about, how is your team doing today? Which practices or capabilities should we invest in? And once you've identified those, you can then create an experiment. Let's try focusing in on, I don't know, continuous delivery as a practice. As we improve continuous delivery, we expect that improving our continuous delivery is going to improve our delivery performance. We also know that continuous delivery conditions or further supports some of these technical practices like version control and continuous integration, which in turn drive delivery performance. And then that delivery performance, of course, is going to improve our organizational performance. But if you've read the 2022 report, you'll see that we also saw that delivery performance opens up or improves organizational performance, but specifically when operational performance is good. So our operational performance opens our delivery performance's capability to drive organizational performance. So what I like to do with teams is take a step back, look at the structural equation model, and have a sort of dispassionate review of how is our team doing with each one of these capabilities. By understanding that, we can start to find the constraint. Which capability is holding us back? Which capability do we have the opportunity to improve the most? And let's focus our energy, focus our capacity, and maybe build an experiment around improving that capability to demonstrate that not only does the data predict it, but also in our organization, on our team, improving this capability can help drive that particular outcome. So that's a brief overview of the structural equation model. And with that, I would love to hear your experiences, your thoughts, your ideas, your questions around using the structural equation model and the research from within the program.